What is going on, guys? Today we are talking about Alibaba stock. We are going to be taking a look at some recent news that came out that sent the stock up almost 7% just in a few trading hours. So absolutely an insane move in a very short amount of time. So we are going to go ahead and jump into an article that goes over all the news that's coming out of China, why this is so important for China and the Chinese economy, and specifically Alibaba. And then we are going to take a look at Alibaba's valuation and where it is sitting right now and the silly levels that it is at. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. First up, let's take a look at Alibaba's chart. We can see over the last week, over the last 5 days, they are down 1.16%, and they bottomed out here around $62.26. And then on Monday, they kind of just traded sideways, but we see this huge dramatic move Monday into Tuesday. And what we could see here is that that move was around 7%, just under 7. And it was absolutely insane. It took the stock all the way from $63.62 all the way up to around $68. So a big move in the stock price. So let's go ahead and jump into why the stock moved so much Monday into Tuesday. I've talked about this before on the channel as being a very important catalyst coming up in China, that if they remove this policy, that we will see a big move across the Chinese stock market. And we're kind of seeing some rumblings of that right now. So basically, there are some rumors out that China will be loosening its zero pandemic policy. That's what I call it, because I know the name gets basically banned in YouTube. So the zero pandemic policy is China's policy that they have put in place and had in place for the last couple of years, where they will shut down any city, any area of the country that needs to be shut down if their pandemic cases go up and are rising and are consistently rising. And basically that just shuts down the entire economy. And then eventually, they'll loosen those restrictions. The economy will start back up, and then they might shut it down again, if cases arise quickly as well. So it's a very back and forth kind of pulling motion of, shutting down the economy, restarting it, shutting it down, starting it up. And we saw that in the US with a huge move down with the US stock market in 2020, March of 2020, one of the fastest moves down, 30% moves, drops in the market over, the shortest amount of days. I think it was like 28 or 29 days from top to bottom. So absolutely insane moves. And China is experiencing something similar because they are shutting down and opening their economy just all the time right now. Right now, these are only rumors. So recent developments suggest that the worst may be over, which could result in lifting of government restrictions, thus providing a boost to China's battered economy and stock market. That basically came up, and with that, Alibaba moved up 7.7%, JD climbed 8.7%, and Baidu climbed 7.9%. So huge moves across all Chinese stocks when that rumor was kind of announced and people were, basically starting to digest what that would mean for China. And with it just being a rumor as of right now, obviously the stock market doesn't like that China hasn't come out and basically confirmed or denied that it is a rumor or that they are going to go through with it. So the stock has traded, from $68 all the way back down to around $64, $65. So people are just digesting it, trying to figure out if it's factual or not. And right now, it's kind of just trending down. Obviously, if the government comes out and actually confirms it, I would expect another bump up and maybe a couple bumps up as the stock market basically tries to price in what that will mean for Alibaba going forward. And with that, the stock market will try and price in all of this before it actually goes into effect. So what they're looking at, and again, these are just rumors, but Chinese social media emerged overnight suggesting that the government committee had been formed to develop plans to fully reopen China by March of 2023. So I'd expect an announcement probably at the very latest sometime in January if this was their plan to fully open by then. I would expect it probably, hopefully even sooner than that, because we'll get into some of what they want to achieve before they fully open China. But obviously it's important to keep this in mind that the stock market is going to look at that. And once the news is actually announced, that's when the stock will make a big move. Once the policy actually goes into place and they, lift a lot of these restrictions, then by that time, Alibaba will probably, and a lot of Chinese stocks will probably have this move actually priced into the stock. One promising aspect of this is that a lot of the rumors are very specific as to what China wants to see happen across the country before they start lifting these restrictions. So let's go ahead and kind of get into that. So there's a list of lofty goals that China is looking to achieve. These conditions include raising the vaccination rate amongst elderly residents, increasing the ability of hospitals to handle potential influxes of cases, and boosting stockpiles of drugs used to treat the pandemic. So basically a lot of goals out there. And again, this is good that there are some specifications as to these rumors because it lends more truth to it. And obviously all of these make sense, right? You want the elderly more vaccinated. That should be a priority. You also want to increase your hospital capacity in case, cases do rise, and then also boosting the amount of drugs that you have. Again, another benefit thing that you want as more people will eventually potentially contract the pandemic. So obviously a lot of things there, but again, the important thing is that there are specifics surrounding it, right? It's not just a random rumor that, hey, we're looking at getting rid of this policy. It's, hey, we're looking at getting rid of this policy, plus we want to achieve all these other things before we get rid of the policy and start lifting a lot of these bans. Another important note this week is that China had their Singles' Day celebration, which is basically the equivalent of Black Friday in the US. So that was Monday the 31st. They had their 14th annual global shopping festival, better known as Singles' Day or 11/11. So this is absolutely huge for the country. Again, it's kind of similar to Black Friday for the US, and it's been a big moneymaker for a lot of these Chinese companies. The question will be, as China does eventually hopefully start opening up, will this day obviously take off more and more? And that would kind of be anticipated, right? As people go out and shop more, Alibaba, JD, Baidu, all these companies are going to benefit from it. So right now, obviously, they're still under some sort of restrictions. So I kind of expect their earnings next quarter to not be, overly impacted by Singles' Day. But in the future quarters, we could see a lot more sales on Singles' Day as people get out more and are, looking to purchase more items. And obviously, one thing that has kind of some concerns with it is that some officials are even downplaying these rumors. So here's the foreign ministry, Zhao Lijiang, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he said, "I'm not aware of any situation you mentioned." So basically saying that he's not aware of any committee. A lot of these officials, though, they like to downplay things before they actually happen. They don't want them, information getting out there in case something doesn't happen, right? In case they decide that, hey, now is not the right time to open up the economy, then they don't want to, be too preemptive. They want to let, the committees and whatnot go through their due diligence without being too influenced by public opinion. So that's really not too telling right now, but it will be interesting to see, if they do announce anything, if the government comes out and actually formally says, no, we aren't doing this or looking at this, or yes, we are, because that will basically be, again, the next big move, the next big catalyst for Baba stock. To close out the video, let's take a look at valuation. So Alibaba has a trailing P ratio right now of 30.94. This has actually been all over the place as their earnings have basically gone up and down all over the place as well. As earnings, have changed with different sections of the country shutting down, opening up, whatnot, we could see that kind of with their trailing P ratio. With their forward P ratio, it's very interesting because we have officially gotten below a 10 forward PE. They are sitting at an 8.22 forward P ratio, which is very crazy. And I would expect that as, the country opens up, this will actually go lower. It may not go lower. The only thing that would prevent this from going lower is obviously if the stock price reacts in a positive way and ends up moving higher. But right now, this is ridiculously low. And if we see a formal announcement from the Chinese government, what I would expect is a lot of these analysts to start raising their price targets for 2024. And basically what that will come along with is a raise in the earnings expectations for Alibaba. As the economy opens up, more people will have money, more people will be willing to go out and spend money, and basically that is going to have a huge impact on Alibaba. So that all in turn could have a huge and end up being a huge catalyst for Baba going forward. So with that, what Alibaba comes down to is, do you have faith that the Chinese government is going to reverse their path? If you think that they are going to open up the economy, you think they're going to try and keep a good relationship with the US, they're going to, stop restricting Chinese tech companies and take a lot of those restrictions out of place. then obviously Alibaba is at a very cheap valuation. But if you don't believe that China is going to do all those things, you think they're going to continue with the same path, they're going to continue hurting the Chinese economy for whatever reason they have, basically to reduce their economy and their GDP, then obviously Alibaba doesn't make a whole lot of sense to purchase. Personally, I fall on the side of I think China will kind of, if not be forced to turn around their economy and turn around a lot of their policies. I think they've shown in the past that they're willing to change and willing to adjust how they treat kind of the world economy. And I think, that's what they're going to do over the next probably 5 years is Alibaba will, get back to a worldwide type of company. So again, just my belief, obviously make your own decisions. Do not take advice from someone just on YouTube. Do your own valuations, look at and analyze all the stocks that you like. And if Alibaba turns out to be one, then awesome. And if not, no hard feelings. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day.